My truth is a lot of white people have helped me on my journey. And I never wanted to give them their credit for helping me. I did because I love them. Um, this woman who helped me a lot, Sister Emil, she passed away January 9th, about 7 or maybe 9 years ago. Um, when my mom boyfriend tried to rape me with my son in bed, and my mom put my stuff out, and I'm just going to tell my truth.
Welcome to Surviving and Thriving, the Black Experience. Here, we talk about the real adversities Black Americans face while navigating corporate spaces, educational institutions, and the justice system. We name the pressures, expose the barriers, and share strategies to help you adapt, endure, and move forward while protecting your peace. So, let's get into today's discussion. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Surviving and Thriving, the Black Experience. I am still here with Miss Ciara. Hi, Ciara.
Hi.
Hello, love. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hop right back into this. This has been such a wonderful, passionate, purposeful conversation that we've, in fact, been having. But I want to go ahead and move into your careers because there are so many. I want to kind of talk about like your career choices, systems that you've, in fact, had to deal with that have been in regards to direct pain. Um, let's kind of hop into that. Tell me about your experience in regards to working within probation and public defense.
So, um, when I was getting my master's, I had the opportunity, honestly, and I'm saying I don't really talk about it like, but I could have worked with the person who mentored Obama, or I could have done public defender, and I wanted to be a lawyer. So I was like, everybody's like, you're missing out on an opportunity, but my dream was to be a lawyer,
Mhm.
know? And I was like, this is my opportunity to be a lawyer in a fashion, or, so I was working as a mitigation specialist though, within the public defender office to help people get the least amount of time possible. So like what factors in their childhood or what mental components could help honestly get them the least amount of time.
Mhm.
And, they started me with a good case. I was excited. It was somebody who was underage, but he was being tried as an adult. I was able to even go behind the judge chambers and speak my case. And he was like, oh, he got probation. I was like, yeah, justice. And then they gave me the real cases.
Right. I'm like, who if they all was like that?
I got the real cases right. I'm telling you, right now. The one guy where I cried, yeah, it was, really saw his remorse. I saw his growth. I saw his healing. And he was getting sentenced like, it was like a co-defendant. So whatever time, they got the same amount of time. And I felt like his co-defendant wasn't remorseful. Honestly, if it was real justice for me, and this is just my experience in that, if it was real, like he wouldn't have gotten any more time than what he already had. But he ended up getting, 7 years, and I just was like, that's not fair at all. And I waited till I got out the courtroom, and I went to the highest floor, and I just sat by myself in an empty space. And I just cried. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, this is too much. And then I was getting sex offense cases, and it was just so much. I'm like, I cannot do this. Like, because I couldn't do it. Like, I could not set my biases aside at that time. And then not only can I not, I did my case and I did what I was supposed to do, but even it was just like, it did not align with me. It felt so inauthentic. And even, but I always do my job. And I even got the opportunity, like I interviewed with Miami public defenders and gave me the job. And she was like, I knew they was gonna keep you because my where I was currently working, my supervisor, he knew I didn't want to move to Miami, and Miami had the death sentence still. And I was scared, like, what if I tried so hard and they still got the death penalty? Like that's like somebody's life in your hand. And even though I still have people's lives in my hand now as a therapist, it's still like the autonomy date. I know I did my best, but in that case, I don't get the final say. As a therapist, I know I said everything possible. Like if somebody, even though I would be sad, and I was scared as a therapist that somebody would take their lives, but I was able to become a probation officer with Cook through my public defender job. my supervisor knew, it ain't sometimes it ain't what you know, it's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to get that job, and I was like, yeah, I want the diversity case. So we had different caseloads, and I wanted, I like diversity. But they was like, I had got a lot of experience working with domestic violence, when I was in Dominican. So they gave me the domestic violence caseload, family violence, but I loved it, honestly. I had a lot of guys. I had some women, but I mostly was guys. But it was very healing and therapeutic. Like guys would cry in my office. Like guys came back. I almost did it. I did it for 7 years. They would come and say, "You changed my life." Honestly, I did. I was myself,
Mm-hmm.
I know I probably shouldn't. I'm like, I be saying a lot of stuff I know I shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like one guy, he kept failing his drug test. He was like, Ciara, I gotta feed my family. He was selling, what I'm saying? He was selling dope. I'm just gonna say it. And he kept testing. I'm like, you need to put on gloves. Like, do you
Mm-hmm.
want to really take, and then we like helping them also get to where they need to be, because sometimes when you don't know, you feel like this is your only option. And I'm gonna say it, I don't have anything against drug dealers, but you don't want to be looking over your shoulder their whole entire life, like you living in fear still. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, what you gonna do with this money? Like really start a business. And I mean, I shouldn't be saying this, but I did. And I remember my supervisor was like, Sierra, you gotta get them in and out. I'm like, I can't be mean. I can't be mean.
Mm-hmm.
One of my clients, I said it as a therapist is expected, but as a probation officer, you about to kill yourself and you call your probation officer. That's me seeing my worth too. Like, dang, I didn't even realize the impact that I had on somebody until last year. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even realize that connection. Like, you ain't gonna, you expect to call your mama, your
Mm-hmm.
therapist, your best friend when you by yourself, like,
Mm-hmm.
or even go to a pastor or preacher.
Mm-hmm.
But your probation officer, like that, let me know, like, yeah, you've been making impact on people.
Did any of the roles force you to confront parts of your own story that you weren't ready to face yet?
Um, Therapy.
Okay.
I feel like I wasn't really, because even though I was starting to, I feel like I was making impact on with people, but I wasn't going deep. And I'm like, why not? I'm like, I feel like I'm doing all the work. Like I'm doing the work. I'm journaling. I'm going to sleep. I'm drinking more water. You know, it's like you not really owning your whole self. Like you holding back. You not being. I wasn't being my authentic self. And when I said the N word in a session, it was like, yeah, you have a story too to tell. Like you're not being your authentic self. So I had to really reflect on my life, and really that's why I made that video about everything that I've been through, because I had to own it and stop running from it, collecting these degrees and accolades. The thinking money was gonna make me happy, or these trips or all these things. That's when I knew I needed to go deeper. All these theories and all this the stuff that I learned in school, it doesn't go deeper with self. It all starts with self. And that's what I had to do. I had to really learn to love all the sexually abused me, the one who wanted to hurt herself, the one who fought because she felt broken, the one who got caught stealing, the one who was in, like all of the things. Like I had to accept all of me. And yeah, so therapy, of course, is the most impactful one for me.
Look around today's classrooms. Screens are everywhere: tablets, iPads, and even smartboards. Technology is moving faster than ever before. But in a classroom full of screens, something important is slowly being forgotten: the simple magic of opening a book and seeing yourself inside the story. I wrote the Forgotten page to remind children that books still matter and that every child deserves to see themselves represented in stories they read. This heartwarming story follows Paige, a book who feels forgotten when technology begins to replace reading in the classroom, until children rediscover the power of turning real pages. The Forgotten page is available on Amazon in English and in Spanish for classrooms, libraries, and families who believe in the power of stories. Because sometimes the stories we almost forget are the ones children need the most. Okay. When you shifted into your roles that were like more care based, such as your doula work, anger management, therapy, and therapy, What changed inside you?
Um, I don't know. I feel like it was naturally occurring. Like things were being brought to me, like the doula thing was brought to me, and I'm like, I want to try that because when I was in the fourth grade, I was like neonatal nurse. I just liked the name of it, but working with babies, like I kind of like I feel like that's something powerful to bring a baby in the world. Like, let me do that, you know? And
Mhm.
it was so powerful. And also even the home births, I did different ones, hospital, I assisted in the hospital. You know, and it was so rewarding because, man, I didn't have a great experience delivering my children, honestly. I didn't know no better, but I learned a lot. But it was demanding. And I always say if I can't give my all, don't do it. I don't like being on call. That's my truth. And, you know,
Mhm.
I had two women close to my birthday that was due. One was my first client actually was due on my birthday.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, it's alignment. It means, you know, but I like to travel.
Mhm.
I like to have fun, like, you know, and I canceled everything. I was like, that's going to be a great birthday gift, you know. And then they both went early. They went before my birthday, and I just didn't make no plans. So I just had
Mhm.
we went to Wisconsin Dells, but I ain't like that. And then one time I was in Egypt and somebody went into labor. You two on call to be a doula. I was too on call. I didn't like being on call to be a doula or midwife. I was even going back to school to be a midwife. I'm like, I can't do this.
Mhm. Because see, I must say, no one that really thinks about that concept of the time that you're having, even though it's a wonderful profession, that on call part. Don't nobody think about that part.
Yeah.
Everything's all beautiful. Oh, the baby's here. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about when that baby's delivered at 3 in the morning, 2 in the
Yeah,
morning?
and I want to be present because that's what I signed up for. And
Hmm.
I didn't like that I was missing. I didn't like that because I know how important it is to have a doula or having a support person by your side because it makes all the difference in the labor.
Can you tell, in case the audience isn't aware, can you tell them what a doula is?
It's like a support person. Like you guys come up with like your what you want natural birth, and they explain your rights too, because a lot of people don't know their rights and understand the actual development of what's going on. Because when my son, I was young, I was 19, and I didn't know that you couldn't change a due date due based off weight. So I'm listening to the doctors. My son original due date was March 17th, and they moved it all the way up to February 27th because of his weight. So of course now it's March, he not here, and they like we need to induce. So now they're inducing, and I'm excited because it's my first child. Like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, you know my baby gonna come early. Now they're like his heart rate is dipping, and now I have to have an emergency C-section. And even in that, I've been talking about my experience with that. I had a hemorrhoid and I told the nurse and she was like, because you didn't push, like only women who push have hemorrhoids. So now I'm feeling small too. Like I wasn't able to push my son out. Um, but I'm in pain. I don't know what. And then, but I was pushing for 2 days, literally. It never came. And I wanted to go home and they told me to go home, but that was a lie too. They told me I couldn't go home because he's at risk, you know.
Mhm.
But that was all a lie. His heart rate was increased because they induce, I mean, the medicine you use to induce is fentanyl.
Mhm.
We hear epidural, but it's fentanyl. You see, it's fentanyl. And they were like, it's a pharmaceutical, but if you look at the bag, it says
Wait
fentanyl.
a minute. Uh,
Yeah,
okay.
so of course his heart rate is dipping and putting this like we don't understand. And of course now it's hard for him to latch because his mouth is numb. We don't know that though. I didn't know that. So I informed them and I'm not taking away an epidural from no woman. Do what you need to do because I tell my clients that do what you need to do. Things will change. But if you believe in yourself and know that it's a natural part of life to give birth, the more confident if you going in with doubts, I'm gonna need a C-section, that doubt's gonna happen. But even with my hemorrhoid, she said that I felt small. I said it again because I'm like, I've never experienced a hemorrhoid, but I'm talking about hemorrhoids.
Mhm. No, you're
But
fine.
and then finally the third time I'm like, I was so in pain, but just to speak up, and I'm gonna talk about silence next week, and my blog can literally kill you. Like I was suffering in silence because I had a hemorrhoid, but she telling me no because I didn't push. And then finally she was like, she was so mad. She came, oh my God, you do have a hemorrhoid. And it's like, but just imagine if I didn't have a little bit of fight in me. A woman have to sit through all that pain because she didn't say it 3 times. I had to say it 3 times for her to come and check. I don't even know how we got on that. But yeah, it's a lot of things that's what a doula does. They gonna explain to you what's going on. They gonna tell you if this is medically necessarily needed. We never needed a hospital to deliver babies, and I'm not trying to say it like that. Animals deliver baby every day and night. We know we never needed that, but because they did that, even laying on your back, that wasn't a thing until it became a luxury. So now things they label as luxuries are really impacting us delivering our babies safely. Black women is dying during childbirth. And that's the truth. We have the highest death rate because you can take that pain. I'm in pain because I'm doing something I'm not naturally supposed to be doing, laying on my back, or,
Mhm.
being induced with fentanyl. And I'm not trying to say it like that, but that's what it
No,
is. They changed it in the 90s. You can look it up. It went from morphine but morphine. It was morphine. We make it look cute by saying epidurals, but if you call stuff what it really is, it'll
hmm
wake people up.
hmm
But yeah,
that is, so first of all, I'm actually going to look up the information behind that and put that in the description because that's new for me
yeah,
as well. I have not had children yet, but I did have, and I spoke with a previous guest that I did have a myomectomy. And I explained how I literally felt like I was dying afterwards. And because of the facility that I was at, who sent an apology letter, um, and talked about their staff members being trained because of
oh my God,
what happened to me.
yeah,
So the stories, as you said, like these stories are real. They really do happen to people.
yeah,
Like you don't need a horror story when you got real life. Like
yeah,
let's just get that out the way.
yeah, yeah.
Like life and the stuff that people we're gonna say black women have had to in fact endure and survive, especially when it's coming to the concept of childbirth and or um reproductive areas. It's that'll be a whole nother video.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so let's go ahead and go into I want to know if there's a moment when survival stops working and when that moment arrived for you. And what I mean by that in regards to kind of tying back into what we are talking about earlier, in regards to the accolades, all these different things, the therapeutic aspect, overcoming the survival in regards to the household you lived in, the spaces you were in with certain friends and things and such. Like, when did you just choose to like have it all stop and focus on yourself?
When I had to tell my clients that.
Okay.
Literally, I'm seeing it like it is easy for us to see other people's problems than it is for us me to see our own. So I'm like, if you telling your clients this, you must need it to apply to yourself.
hmm
Because I that's how I even train the people I work with. I'm like, whatever you may be experiencing is what you feel like that client, it may be something because if you feel like your client is guarded, maybe you're guarded. And
hmm
I kept having to say like you have to be okay with being alone. And I even remember this book, The Courage to Be Disliked. And I just did not, it did not, why do you gotta be disliked? Everybody can't like you. And honestly, now that I really think about it, it was really also, I'm gonna just say it was with my daughter. My daughter, I feel like I was making her I was really raising my daughter to people please because she was like, "Mom, everybody likes you." And I'm like, "No, that's not true." Cause she wanted everybody to like her and she people pleasing and she being the therapist for people and I'm like, I don't want her to be that. And
hmm
I had to change. I'm like, I don't, and then I had to tell them the truth about where I stood with my friends because I'm like, no, if they wasn't good and even the family. And then I even reflected on that. I'm like, my mom allowing family in our house is what caused my sexual abuse experience. And I'm like, but you allowing your family in your kids' house, you don't know because they not being raised like you raising your kids. Like we
hmm
keep repeating the same thing. And I'm like, I don't want her to repeat this. So I'm like, no, everybody is not gonna like you as long as you like you. And that's why I'm
hmm
like, my kids get to inherit themselves. I want them to love themselves, not who they think I want them to be or who they teachers tell them to be or who they friends. I'm like, no. And even my son, like, he be like, I remember he made me so proud, like saying no, like they like, oh, you scared, you don't want a zip line. I'm like, I don't care, you can call me what you want. I'm not doing it. Like
Hmm.
nobody can make them be anything, not even me. And I don't want to. I want them to be themselves.
That's truly amazing. That your babies are just, I mean, you let your babies be exactly who they are, like
Yeah.
unapologetically. Like if you don't like something, you don't like something. That
Yeah.
people pleasing aspect. I know I grew up with that, being fully transparent. I grew up with that, like I said earlier, that yes, ma'am, no, no, sir,
That's
aspect
Southern
that,
hospitality.
kids are seen, not, what is it? Kids are seen, not heard. Like I
Mhm.
grew up with that. And so I had to unlearn it. I think I talked
Mhm.
about that originally. Like I had to unlearn so many behaviors in regards to what I see now in order to process, the strength in the generation that we see now, who
Mhm.
are also unapologetic, just in a different
Yeah.
way.
Yep.
And I think that's absolutely amazing that your babies do that. So what truths about your trauma were the hardest to admit, and like even to yourself? And I ask this question because I know that there's someone who's going to in fact watch this video, who still may be like a little, that's not talking about me yet. That's not talking about me. Um, so yeah, can you talk about like a truth that was like the
Yeah.
hardest to admit, and like how did you overcome it?
My hardest truth, I feel like, was accepting that people who were supposed to love me the most hurt me the most. It was also being honest with myself, like really about like I have the love for the black community, the black culture, but I've been hurt the most by black people, and that's my truth. And I never wanted to admit that, and it was hard, and even to this moment, like as of recently, I came to have to accept that, like my truth is a lot of white people have helped me on my journey, and I never wanted to give them their credit for helping me. I did because I love them. Um, this woman who helped me a lot, Sister Emil,
Mm-hmm.
she passed away January 9th, about 7 or maybe 9 years ago. Um, when my mom boyfriend tried to rape me with my son in bed, and my mom put my stuff out, and I'm just going to tell my truth. Black garbage bags on the corner. Um, I did not have nowhere to go. I could have went back to my ex. I could have went to my son's dad, but I'm like, I did not want to be in that relationship. Like he hurt me. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, why would I don't want to be back with him? I could have just to have a place to live. And I don't know. I called the school and they connected me with Sister Emil, and Sister Emil got me a house on Notre Dame campus for graduate family housing. And yeah, and I took advantage of it. And when it was time getting close for me to graduate, she like came in, like she would meet with me and my son all the time. We would just have dinner or lunch, we'll do something. And she was like, "What you gonna do?" And I'm like, "What you mean what I'm gonna do? Like you can't stay on campus for the rest of your life." I'm like, "What you mean? Like you taking this away from me?" I knew that they help wasn't real, but
Mm-hmm.
real help that you really got, and you was taking advantage of it. I did that a lot with St. Mary's, and I didn't reflect on it until recently
Mm-hmm.
because they make it seem like all white people are, and I'm not saying I have not experienced a lot of racism because I
Yep.
have, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But once again, focus on the positive, not the negative. I've
Yep.
had so many white people help me, and
Yep.
I ain't trying to say it like even when my editing my book, two white older men helped me edit this last book, and it's
Yep.
it's best because they was like, I feel like I remember the editor said, I see you being vulnerable, but I feel like you holding back. And literally everybody I know personally was like, you were so vulnerable. You was so, but I was holding back because that book wasn't, I was like, it's not an autobiography, so I shouldn't give all of me. And he was like, you telling one part of your story. You're not telling your whole story. You're telling one story or one moment in your life. So let the person feel what you're going through. I'm like, dang,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, um, even getting into St. Mary's, this woman's like, you too smart. She never even seen my grades. How did she know that? She sensed it in what I was saying, and I didn't. That's why I didn't have to apply like to go to St. Mary's. I never even knew about it,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the opportunities. I mean, getting my passport, going overseas, like, um, yeah, it's admitting that like we all need each other. We
Mm-hmm.
can't be thinking about race and all of that. If somebody is racist, you don't have to deal with them. But
Yep.
also, if it is your cousin, mama, sister, brother, if they're not treating you right, you don't have to deal with them.
Yep.
We come from one creator, and we're all family. And I'm gonna just say, love is the answer. Once you love yourself, you can love others without thinking about what race, what gender, what sex, what
Yep.
as long as they're living in their truth, it shouldn't even bother you because you accept them fully. So
Yep.
why, or just be of good service because that's what you know you will want in return. Like
Yep.
be the change you want to be in the world. That's my one of my favorite.
No, no, you're absolutely right, and I'm so happy that you mentioned that because I think, and I want to also say this in regards to people who watch this channel, because my channel is called Surviving and Thriving the Black Experience. That doesn't mean that this is, how can
Yeah,
I explain it? That that means that the creator does not like white people.
I
This is
know.
not for white people at all. This, another.
But
No,
it's a
what it
space where we
it's
can do it because
yes,
representation does matter. Like I talked about that Cinderella
yes,
story, like that representation of a black princess mattered to me because it
yes.
showed me that I can be a princess. I am a princess based off
Yes.
who I am as a person. Just like Black Panther, we do have to have spaces because we have not had it. And in my black experience, white people just so happen to have it. But it is like I have experienced a lot of
Mm-hmm.
racism and just sexism, ageism, all of it,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. But this is my experience as a black woman, and that's just so happened who a part that's a part of me.
Right. No, and that's exactly why I appreciate you saying that because even myself, I've had several encounters with people who are in fact white and they may not in fact have been as positive. But I would be remiss and lying if I sat here and said that I haven't had interaction with people who are white who treat me like family, who
Hmm.
literally I treat them like family, who've looked
Yeah.
out for my family when they haven't had to. My biggest supporters when I went to high school were I'm sorry, white coaches because at the school I went to there were like maybe one or two black teachers in there, but the rest were white. And
Hmm.
I mean, when I tell you they pushed me, when I first got into college for my associate, my English teacher is the one who pushed me in regards to my composition and things of such.
Yeah.
When I in fact started working, I mean, it was being straight up. When my first job was Woodman's. Penny, I hope you get to see this one day. Penny, a white woman, sat here and helped me in regards to being able to try to work towards being a cashier up there because I was a bagger with my first job.
Yeah.
Um, when I just got my second master's, I had an amazing professor who actually came on this channel as well too and did a discussion in regards to the disproportionality of black educators with PhDs and the disparagement within educational institutions. Yes, but also the other teachers who were Hispanic, the other professors who were
Yeah.
Hispanic were amazing, just as amazing in regards to help me, be able to see myself and having those really hard conversations as Hispanic women that
Yeah.
were about black issues. So
Yeah.
I think that that's like the biggest thing is opening that door for conversation. That doesn't mean that it's to diminish the black experience at all and to also not talk about the difference of proportionality of exposure and all these other things that yes are true. But that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that every single person that you see that's white is just has a hidden
Because
agenda
it could,
and they're
it
trying to
can hold
hurt
you
you.
back. Yeah, it can
Yeah.
literally hold you
So
back. And that was one thing I had to let go. Like
mhm,
I had this notion that I needed all my black people to win. And I'm not saying I still want all my black people to win. I want them to let go of what's holding them back from. I want everybody actually on this earth to be themselves and to
mhm,
enjoy this human experience. And I can't do that saying like, oh, this, but I mean, this in this human experience, I just so happen to be a black person. And that's why I say I cannot I can only speak on my experience,
mhm,
but on my experience many different cultures and races, but
mhm.
especially white people have helped me and I have been hurt. And I feel like this is what's holding us back. People saying, and I said this at an event, but I want to see a black therapist or I want you limiting who could possibly help you. And I tell people when you're searching for a therapist, you're gonna feel when it's right.
Mhm.
Stop going in there with, oh, how long you been, don't go in there with questions. Know how you feel. And when you know it's a right fit, because I joke and I say this, you ain't gonna always get a me on your first try, but keep going until you know that it's
Mhm.
a good feeling. Um,
Mhm.
and I may not be a great fit for everybody, and that's okay. But I don't want you to stop seeking the help that you need.